Are you worried about moving to Gainesville? Well, I'm about to share with you the 7 things that people absolutely hate about living here. And if you can put up with those, you're probably going to enjoy the 8 things that people love about living here. Let's jump into it. Let's start with the humidity. The truth is, our summers are long, hot, and sticky. Some people adapt better than others, but get ready because that hot, thick air can definitely stop you from doing some things outside. Most people plan outdoor stuff early in the morning or late in the evening, but midday, you don't even want to go out to the car. Your shirt sticks, your glasses fog up, and your hair gets all frizzy. Some people say you get used to it, but I think you just tolerate it. By late September or October, the humidity finally starts to back off, and that first cool morning feels so amazing. But those first few months, you may seriously regret the move to Gainesville. Another thing that you'll have to tolerate is going to be the traffic. If you've ever driven down Archer Road around 5 o'clock, you already know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter which direction you're going, it's busy, it's slow, and it feels like it takes forever to go a mile. Gainesville isn't a big city, but we've got a few roads that definitely make it feel like it. Archer Road is probably one of the worst, but spots like 13th Street, Newberry Road, and University Avenue can get backed up, especially when school's in session or there's a home football game. The annoying part is there's not many alternate routes, and even those can back up. There are a few cut-through streets that help, but really you just have to plan ahead, leave a few minutes early, and hope you catch a few green lights. The good news is you don't have to drive far to get where you're going. Most places in Gainesville are within about 15 to 20 minutes, so even when it feels like it's a big traffic jam, it's really nothing compared to those major cities around Florida. The next thing to know about Gainesville is that the job market can be a little limited. If you're in healthcare, education, tech, and research, you'll probably be fine. Between UF, Shands, and some of the local startups, there are a lot of good opportunities. But outside of that, it can be a little tough. Gainesville just isn't a big corporate city. There aren't a ton of major employers or large companies here, and that can be a surprise to people moving here from bigger metros. There are plenty of smaller businesses and local employers, but those can be kind of hard to find. Remote work has made things a lot easier. More and more people are choosing Gainesville for the lifestyle and keeping their jobs elsewhere. Just another thing to keep in mind as you plan your move. But even if you find the perfect job, there's still one thing that Gainesville will never have. That's going to be the beach. Some people can't even imagine living in Florida and not being on the beach. But from Gainesville, you're about an hour and a half to St. Augustine and closer to 2 hours if you're going to Cedar Key on the Gulf side. It's fine for a day trip, but it's not like you're just going to bounce out to the beach and have lunch. The trade-off, though, is that Gainesville is far enough inland that hurricanes aren't a major concern here. We'll get rain and some wind, but the storm damage is pretty minimal, especially compared to other parts of Florida. So no, you won't be waking up to ocean views, but you also won't be boarding up windows every time a storm rolls in. Real quick, if you're new to the channel, my name is Donovan Arnold, and I was born and raised here in Gainesville. I've been helping people buy and sell homes here for more than a decade, and I absolutely love helping people relocate to the area. So if you're thinking about moving here and have questions, or just want to get some more information about Gainesville, don't hesitate. Give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. Let me know what questions you have and how I can help. Another thing that you'll have to get used to here are going to be the bugs, and there are a lot of them. Between the mosquitoes, love bugs, and palmetto bugs, pest control is always in the budget. If you've never lived in Florida, it can be a little surprising at first. You'll see palmetto bugs, lizards, frogs, all types of stuff. It's not that Gainesville is any worse than other parts of Florida, it's just a part of living close to nature. You get used to it after a while, you just learn to keep the doors closed and bug spray close by. The good news is most of them are pretty harmless, and it's just something that comes with the territory when you live somewhere that's green almost year round. Another thing that people mention after moving here is that there's not a whole lot to do here at night. During the day, Gainesville has plenty of opportunities between the parks, trails, springs, gator games, and festivals, but once the sun goes down, things get a little quiet. If you're looking for those rooftop bars, live music every night, and restaurants that stay open late, you might be a little disappointed. Most places close on the earlier side, and a lot of that nightlife is geared towards the college students. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it just depends on the type of lifestyle that you're looking for. If you're used to that big city energy after dark, Gainesville's going to feel a little bit slow. But if you like laid back evenings, maybe grabbing dinner and then calling it a night, You'll fit right in. Another thing that's caught a lot of people off guard lately is how much Gainesville has gone up in price over the last few years. For a long time, Gainesville was considered one of the more affordable places in Florida to live, but that's been changing. Home prices have been climbing, property taxes have also followed, and then insurance costs keep going up just like everywhere else in the state. I've talked to plenty of people who have moved here thinking it would be a budget friendly option. And while it is still cheaper than like Tampa, Orlando, and South Florida, it's not the hidden gem that it used to be. Rent has gone up too, especially around newer developments in the university. Now, the good news is there are still affordable pockets of town. You just have to know where to look. Overall, Gainesville is more affordable than most of Florida, but that gap is definitely closing. It's just something to keep in mind if you're expecting those small town prices. Gainesville is certainly not perfect, but for most people, the good ends up outweighing the bad. One of the biggest reasons people end up loving Gainesville is because of the access to nature. You don't have to drive far to find something beautiful. Trails, lakes, springs, it's all right here. You can spend the morning kayaking, hiking, or biking and still be home in time for lunch. Places like Devil's Mill Hopper and Payne's Prairie and the nearby springs are what makes this area special. The water is crystal clear, and those are the types of places where you can spend hours without even realizing it. It's one of those things that people don't really expect when they move here, but once you experience it, you start to realize how rare it is to have so much outdoor space so close to town. So even if you don't consider yourself an outdoorsy person, Gainesville may change that. And the nice thing is, you don't have to live way out in the middle of nowhere to enjoy all of that. Everything's still close by. One of the other things people really like about Gainesville is that it still feels like a small town, even though it has most of what you'd expect living in a bigger city. You can go downtown for dinner or catch a show, and then in about 10 or 15 minutes, be back home. There is traffic, like I mentioned, but it's nothing compared to what you deal with in Orlando or Tampa. You've got great local restaurants, coffee shops, stores, and events, and everything's close enough that you don't feel like you have to plan your whole day around getting somewhere. At the same time, it's not so small that you feel stuck. There's enough going on that you can always find something to do, but it still has that comfortable, easy pace that makes it feel like home pretty quickly. And of course, we can't talk about Gainesville without mentioning UF. The University of Florida plays a huge role in what makes Gainesville Gainesville. It brings so much energy and life to the city. There's always something happening, whether it's football season, a concert, a speaker on campus. UF always has something going on. The university also brings in people from all over the world, which gives Gainesville a lot more diversity than you'd expect for a city this size. You get different cultures, foods, and perspectives all blending together. Sure, things can get a little crazy during the game weekends, but even if you're not a Gator fan, it's hard to not enjoy that energy around town when the whole city lights up orange and blue. It's one of those things that gives Gainesville its personality, that mix of college town excitement and local pride that makes it feel alive. And it's not just about the university. Education has always been a big part of Gainesville's identity. Between the University of Florida and Santa Fe College, the city's always had a strong focus on learning and academics. And that's the same for K through 12. Gainesville has some well-known public schools and some great magnet programs. But where we've seen a lot of growth is going to be in the private schools and homeschooling. There are plenty of options out there. It just depends on what you're looking for. And no matter which school path families choose, one thing that really stands out here is that small town sense of community. It's big enough to have variety, but small enough that you can easily bump into people you know all the time. Gainesville still has that small town feel where things move at a slower pace, but you'll run into people that you know at Publix or a restaurant or at your kids' practice. A lot of people who move here notice that right away. It's not a place where you feel anonymous, but it's also not so small that everyone's in your business. It's kind of that middle ground that feels really comfortable. There's a good mix of longtime locals and people who relocated here for work or school, and that blend gives the city a nice balance. You see familiar faces, but you also meet new ones all the time. And because Gainesville's still growing, there's a sense that people care about what's happening here. Whether it's supporting local businesses, community events, or youth sports, there's always something to be a part of if you want to get involved. And while it's not on the beach, there are a lot of benefits to where Gainesville is located. You're pretty much in the middle of the state, which makes it easy to get just about anywhere. It's about 2 hours to Orlando a little less than 2 hours to Jacksonville, and then a little over 2 hours over to Tampa. You can make it a weekend trip without it being super stressful. Being central also means you get a nice balance. You're close enough to the coast and the big cities when you want them, but then you're far enough away that you don't deal with the crowds and the constant traffic or the higher cost of living every single day. For a lot of people, that location ends up being one of the biggest selling points. It gives you the flexibility without the headaches of actually living in those bigger metros. And even with that convenience, Gainesville is still more affordable than a lot of places in Florida. You're not dealing with South Florida prices, and even compared to places like Tampa and Orlando, your money just goes further here. Housing is usually a little more reasonable, and things like dining out, entertainment, and groceries tend to cost less too. Now, it's not as cheap as it used to be, but nothing in Florida is. When people start comparing what they can buy here versus other places, Gainesville still comes out ahead. That's a big reason a lot of families, retirees, and even young professionals choose to live here. It gives the Florida lifestyle without the massive price tag. And of course, part of that lifestyle comes down to the weather. Yes, the heat is rough, but I'd rather deal with that than snow boots and icy mornings. That's one of the nice things about Gainesville. Outside of the summer, the weather here is really hard to beat. Winters are mild, no snow, just a few days that'll dip below freezing, and even then it usually warms up by the afternoon. You can still get outside just about every single day. Fall and spring are especially nice. The air finally cools down, everything's green, and you start to remember why you love living here. You see people out walking and biking again. It's like the whole city wakes up after that summer heat. Because of all the rain we get, Gainesville also stays really green compared to most parts of Florida. There are trees everywhere, and that's part of what gives the city its charm. And since we're inland, hurricanes aren't really a major concern. You'll get the rain and wind, but you don't have to worry about evacuating every year like you would on the coast. Now, I mentioned that Gainesville isn't the deal it used to be, but the actual numbers may surprise you. Watch this video to see a cost of living breakdown so you know exactly what to expect if you're moving to Gainesville.